Good evening. Hello, everyone. Extend a warm welcome to today's session of Amrita Cafe. A good discussion always increases the dimensions of everyone who takes part in it. I'm Dr. Shauri Kutappa, and I'm an academic manager with Amrita Institutions. At Amrita Vishwavidyapeetham, we aspire to join hands with institutions, parents, and guardians to provide value-based education and mold the character of the younger generation through a system of wholesome learning. According to several reports, and even one published by the United Nations recently, the COVID pandemic has created the largest disruption of education systems in history, affecting more than 1.5 billion learners in several countries across the globe. Parents, guardians, and students are living through complexities in choosing the best options for themselves in this scenario. Amrita Cafe aims at serving as a forum to table these challenges and explore solutions to cope with the current education scenario. Via Amrita Cafe, we aim to provide insightful information to usher in transparency in and around education. I'm pleased to introduce today's panelist, Dr. Venunathan Pillai. Dr. Pillai, welcome. Welcome to Amrita Cafe. Um,
Thank you.
Our pleasure. On behalf of Amrita Institutions, I welcome you. Dr. Venunathan, could you tell us a little bit about yourselves and SSVM group of institutions, please?
Well, first of all, I will talk about SSVM institutions. SSVM institution is one of the renowned group of institutions in Coimbatore. And this year, we are celebrating 25 years of excellence in education. We recently concluded a conclave that was attended by stalwarts from different walks of life. And we continue to be an education leaders, and recently we have been awarded as one of the topmost education brands in India by Education World also, with several other awards. I am the executive principal and the head of international curricula of the group. I have been in education profession for more than 3.5 decades, and I'm a Cambridge assessment network member. I have been a school principal for 22 years. Of course, the 35 more years as educationist, and 22 years as head of school. And I am a CSML holder, CSMLA certificate in school management and leadership from Harvard University. I am an English examiner for Cambridge University's English programs. I'm also an English trainer for teachers for Cambridge programs. I examine IBDP English as well. I used to examine IELTS also, nowadays not. Well, I have worked in different continents. I started my career abroad in Bhutan, then moved to Kenya, then to Malawi, Zambia, like that in African countries, and came back to India in 2016. So since then I have been in India, worked in different schools, through 2 schools, prominent international schools, and came to Coimbatore. That's me. Thank you for, thank you for affording me on this platform today.
Our pleasure, sir. Our pleasure. SSVM institutions and Amrita Vishwavidyapeetham seem to be grounded in the same, principles of education. Tell us a little about the principles of education at SSVM and how you see them connected with Amrita Group, if any connects, that is.
Certainly, I'm sure that we aspire to become high-performing institutions, and Amrita to be also high-performing institution, and strong vision, strong mission, values, and clear goals for everything. All these things can be the reasons, that we have a strong footage. I mean, that may be the common ground for us.
Thank you. Thank you. For those of us who are just joining, welcome. In this capsule today, we are going to invest the next 30 to 40 minutes on looking at the characteristics of highly effective schools. A recorded version of this webinar will be available on the Amrita Cafe YouTube channel. Dr. Venunathan Pillai will throw some light on what this means in the context of our lives today. In the discussion today, we will talk about characteristics of schools, the vision and mission, collaboration with other stakeholders, and leadership in schools. We would love to have your queries on the topic. You're welcome to share your perspectives as well for discussion as the session unfolds. Based on the time at hand, we'll endeavor to include as many of these queries as possible. Please do include your names as well. Dr. Venu, then getting right into our discussion today. What are the common characteristics of highly effective schools?
Well, as I already mentioned, a clear vision, values, and goals. First of all, these are the things. Then comes a set of organizational building blocks, that is clearly set and managed building blocks. The organizational building blocks of a highly effective school are, I should say, critical tasks and interdependencies, capabilities, culture, and leadership. When we take critical tasks and interdependencies, these refer to the instruction, the curriculum, the teaching and learning programs of the school. When it comes to capabilities, certainly one can assume what the capabilities are: the skills, the capacities, and attitudes of teachers, support individuals, administrators, the school management, the governing board, the employees, everybody. Then culture. Culture refers to the norms, values, and beliefs of the people in the organization, as well as the resulting behaviors and artifacts that represent those beliefs. Then comes leadership, the style and competencies of the leader and their leadership team. When it comes to leadership, I will say leadership with, courageous leadership. That is what I will use. Because a courageous leader will have the end in mind and will have the impetus to be until the end, or the kind of consistency to see and to continue until the end that he has conceived. That is what we need in a highly effective school.
We hear a lot of talk about vision and mission, not just in schools but in organizations as well. From from an educational institutional context, how do you differentiate between a vision and a mission? What is a vision? What is a mission? And how is it differentiated?
Well, of course, they are common. I shouldn't say that schools will be different, but we have to customize it according to the institutional requirements. That's it. Vision defines an organization's overarching purpose. Same thing is with the school also. And it articulates the reason for its existence. And it paints a picture of where the organization will reach or intends to reach. But for school, one thing is sure, it has to be focused on student success. It has to be inspirational for students, staff, and community. It has to be aspirational also for students, staff, and community. It has to be concise. It has to be memorable so that everybody knows in the community, the school community, everybody knows the vision. And it has to be very clear. There should not be any ambiguity. And without a vision, decisions are made randomly. So without it, policies, procedures, programs, and everything will lack unity and fail to adequately support one another. Sometimes it may also cause cross purposes. So it is important to have a vision. When it comes to mission, I will say vision is very concise, general. When it comes to mission, it talks about the overarching purpose of the organization and a little more. And it talks more specifically why we exist and how we can achieve the vision. So it establishes relevant programs for and practices to achieve this one. That's how you can say vision and mission.
And could a school actually function? This is just top of my head. Could an organization or a school or an institution actually function without either one of these? For instance, if you don't have a vision, or if you don't have a mission, either one of these, without it, could the organization actually function? And what would be the impact of it? What would be missing? Let's say everything else is in place, just vision is out. What would the organization miss out on? Everything else is in place, the mission is out. What would the organization miss out on?
See, it would be like you are going on a morning walk and you have not decided which direction you want to walk. And you will be reaching at a place you have not decided to reach. That is the case with an organization also, without mission and vision. See, they are all interrelated. Vision is an overarching purpose. Mission, we can say, for example, you can put it this way. Vision is the final destination that we want to reach. And mission is the journey with the destination in mind. And of course, we have to also think of goals. They are also related to this one. And the goals are the milestones. So vision, mission, and goals actually work together for achieving what you intend to achieve. So goals are milestones and they are smart. They give you measurable, specific, measurable, achievable, result-oriented, and time-bound results. And they are also required. So if one is missing, one link is missing, and in any plan, if one link is missing, what will happen? We can all imagine that will happen.
Thank you. And I'm now leaning on your credentials a bit. I'm taking a leaf out of your accreditations, especially in assessments and in the field of assessments. How do you think a school can ensure achievements for all students? What are the systems, that we can use to prevent failure? How do we ensure that everyone achieves in a school?
So we create a vision that is based on student success. And our mission are systems and practices to achieve that vision. Then I mentioned about the goals. The goals are to be set for the school, the teachers, the subjects, each grade, and for each student. That is the modern education. You cannot have a generalized approach. It has to be really, really specific and individualized. So once these are all set, you have to create culture of high expectation in your school. High expectation, the leadership should create and make the community believe that these high expectations are achievable. That's the duty of the courageous leader. Well, despite all these in place, there are undeniably, numerous obstacles such as differing learning styles, need for extra time, language barriers, parent and family situations, teaching culture, So in high performing schools, what happens? These are addressed proactively. High performing schools do not follow the sink or swim approach. No. And they do not even go to rescue the students who cannot swim when he fails to swim. But he will be taught to swim proactively. So high performing schools find alternatives to failures instead of a throwaway culture. That is the success. And identify the problems at the earliest possible. They equip the students with the remediation strategies. For example, MTSS. MTSS is a differentiated approach of teaching and learning called the multi-tier support system. It has got targeted and intensive intervention programs and targeted and intensive enrichment program also. And collaborative teaching and learning culture also should be there. With all these things, when the teachers come out of their silos, usually that is the traditional culture, teaching in isolation, teaching individually. They have to come out of that teaching culture. They have to collaborate with each other. When all these things happen, the underachieving students also will feel positive. They will work hard. But the school leadership again has got a big role to play. They have to ensure that these systems are sustained and concerted systematic. That way, we can ensure success for every student.
Tell us a little more about MTSS.
Okay, we can say like this: in a classroom, we can categorize the students in different categories. For example, the middle category, that's the grade level. So majority of the students will be at grade level. A few students may be above grade level. Some students will be extremely above grade level. Some students will be slightly below grade level. A few will be really struggling. This will be the structure of a classroom. And if a teacher is teaching generally for everybody, the highly achieving students, so the highly above grade level students will feel bored, and he will become naughty, and he will feel so much discouraged also. And the underachieving students will not be able to catch anything. They will feel stupid. So the thing that we have to do is to make sure that all these students are taken care of, and the teachers should understand the abilities of the students by conducting diagnostic tests and create programs in a differentiated manner and teach them accordingly within the same class. For example, we can have, for example, in Bloom's taxonomy, different levels are there. You create tasks for different levels and keep them together and tell the students to pick any task of their own. All are related to the same topic, but some may be of creative level, some may be of understanding level or remembering level. So the students will try all of them and they will find it there. So that way we can have different strategies within the classroom to include every student. So that is where MTSS will work. It is a differentiated teaching approach within the classroom.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Again, taking a leaf out of the discussion we are just having, what are the kinds of diagnostic tests that teachers could probably, carry out? Not in detail, but probably some references so that the audience can then do their research on them.
There can be a pre-assessment at the beginning of each topic. The pre-assessment usually establishes the ability level of the students or the prior knowledge of the children. And the teacher will be able to fill in what is required to learn the new topic. So his lesson plan should not be closed. So the pre-assessment will tell him the nature of the students he has got or she has got to teach that particular topic. It may differ from topic to topic. It may not be the same in every topic. Every student will not be at the same level in every topic. It will not be like that. For some, a particular topic may be difficult, may be very easy as well. So this can be established by conducting a prior knowledge test. That is a diagnostic test. It's a pre-assessment. Then as you teach, there are two types of assessment happens, assessment for learning and assessment as learning. Assessment for learning is ongoing assessment that the teacher conducts. And assessment as learning is directing the students to do a self-assessment by themselves, a metacognitive assessment themselves. These two things happen together before we taking them to the last end of the particular topic. Before conducting a summative test at the end of the topic, the teacher will know the levels of each student, what is required, what is to be reinforced completely, and individualize the teaching and learning program. And finally, they will be able to achieve almost at the grade level for everybody. That is what they will be able to achieve. And those students with high achievers, will gifted and talented students, will maintain their level. Those struggling students will at least come to the grade level. That way, with this assessment, we can take them to the grade level at least.
Thank you. Thank you. We've seen that an organization's culture, has a very strong bearing on how things are conducted in the organization. So, what are the different types of school cultures when it comes to collaboration?
Very interesting, actually. I will quote Greaves and Fullen here. They said there are 4 different types of school culture when it comes to collaboration. One is individualistic culture. The second one is balkanized culture. Third one is contrived collegiality. And the fourth one is collaboration. In individualistic culture, teachers don't consider the relevant experience and expertise for their colleagues. They think, why should I collaborate? I'm a good teacher. My students are doing very fine, very well. And they're all doing fine. They're all passing very well. Then why should I collaborate? That is the attitude of this culture, the teachers of this culture. Unfortunately, this attitude is still prevalent. And in all schools, even in high performing schools. But the percentage may vary, that I agree. Balkanized culture that we can clearly see. I have gone to different schools. I worked in different schools. When I reach the new school, I can always see this culture there. It is characterized by the presence of different cliques. These cliques have deep-rooted beliefs. They have particular kind of teaching pedagogy, teaching approach. They gather together and they have strong loyalty to the group that clicks. But they have little or no loyalty to the school as a whole. That is a balkanized culture. And the third one is contrived collegiality. Here, they appear to be collaborative. Otherwise, they pretend to be collaborative. But the collaboration is not real collaboration. There is no deeper focus at all. They just think. They just meet. They'll say, hi, how was the evening? How did your students perform? Like that, very superficial information sharing will happen, that's all. That's not real collaboration. But in a collaborative school culture, professionals are fully committed and focused on helping students learn by becoming active learners themselves. They work continuously with their colleagues to improve their teaching strategies and better manage their classrooms. Collaboration is based on specific data regarding performance by individual teachers and information about individual students, sharing of information about individual students for improving teaching and learning, specific areas of instruction. And it is very trusted, structured, and intensive conversation around these data that we gather. Then committed action is there. commitment to action. And they also evaluate the outcomes of their collaborative work. And they refine these outcomes continuously for continuous improvement. So collaboration is the best way to do it. A change in school culture as a whole. I mentioned, this culture and that culture is different. Initially, I mentioned about the culture, the beliefs, values, and all. So a change in the school culture is very important. So the school leaders must create deliberate opportunities for collaboration until it becomes a school culture. Then the school will be highly successful.
Thank you. Thank you. Taking a leaf from what you were, sharing with us about, being able to identify or being able to sort of smell the culture of a school. How do you, what are the feelers? What are the indicators that, people can use to give them a sort of a indication of what is the culture prevalent in a school?
See, individualistic culture is very easy to find. Even balkanized culture also we can see very well. You can always see that a group of teachers will be always together. Everywhere they will be always stick to each other. And it is difficult to identify the contrived collegiality and the real collaboration unless there is outcome evaluation. When outcome evaluation comes, only we can understand whether real collaboration is happening or not. If it is not happening, there should be clear protocols created for this purpose. So, the leaders can do that work. Protocols like schedules for meeting, agenda for meeting, protocols for reporting, protocols for observation, like a lot of things that can be created. So then we will understand that means whether these collaborations happen or not.
And how do we evaluate the outcomes?
See,
or what do we mean when we say outcome evaluation? For instance, as a layman, does it only mean performance of students, or are there other aspects also connected to it?
Yes, there are some aspects connected. See, when it comes to collaboration, there is vertical collaboration and horizontal collaboration. Okay, vertically by the same subject teachers. So they understand each other, what is taught earlier. But earlier, not nowadays much, I used to hear the subject teachers came, you came from this class and I think your teacher didn't teach this. It was a common comment by the teacher of the class. So if you have a vertical collaboration, that comment will never come because the school-wide from grade 1 or even from the early years up to grade 12, the teachers collaborate vertically to see the progression of the syllabus sequencing and what is taught, what is to be taught, all these things they know. That will happen. So vertical collaboration happens, there will be a school-wide initiative where every teacher knows what is taught in every class, every subject. So everybody knows. That is outcome. So that outcome, if that outcome is not reached, then there is no collaboration. Vertically also. Horizontally, if it's a large school, multiple teachers teach the same subject in different grades. So if they all teach differently without collaboration, the outcome is also different. The teaching is different. The pedagogy used is different. The student ability is different. If the student, example, A grade, A division student and C division student appear for the same test, and their answers should be the same, more or less the same. In terms of even if it is language papers, because we teach the same thing, descriptive writing, narrative writing. So even if it is language teaching, so what you all teach the same time, actually, same thing. So the outcome will be the same. So that way the outcome can be evaluated and understand whether real collaboration is happening or not.
So then, wouldn't the students actually be the the sort of direct source to aid in the evaluation of outcomes? And if so, what are the systems that you have seen in institutions where students are involved in such an evaluation?
See, data management, that comes into data management, data collection, data management. Students are directly, asking the students how is the teacher is not a good, certainly. That is demeaning. That is not a good idea. But a school leader can gather information indirectly from the students. The student achievement can be analyzed. And that is not the only indicator. I'm sorry. I mean, that if I communicated that way, that is not what I wanted to communicate. That is an example. There are other indicators. Students, teachers' schemes of work, their lesson plans, their unit plans, their assessment samples. You take the assessment samples from different. For example, as teacher of history, I'm saying example, purely an example. Nobody should feel offended about it. A history teacher is giving a test of 100 marks, and he is giving 4 questions, 24 marks each. And the student finish the test in 15 minutes and they go. So, I mean, just purely an example. I didn't mean to offend anybody. It is not a culture, of course, nowadays. But if that happens, do you think that the assessment is having validity and reliability? It doesn't have. So these are all things that we can always gather. The assessment samples, lesson plans, unit plans, schemes of work, student achievement. So the data and the samples, all these things can be collected together, analyze them, and we can see where the teaching, learning happen effectively. And where we have to take, remedial actions, measures. So it's a collective work.
Thank you. Thank you. I was actually very, very interesting. I would really like to know a little more about data gathering practices in schools. So what are the other possible uses of data in school improvement and student success?
Well, data offer a multitude of benefits for schools and the stakeholders. Common thing we already said, like providing feedback to the students on academic progress that we usually do. Screening students for different special programs. Everybody cannot, be fit for every program that we have. Inform parents about student achievements, or inform the larger community about the school gains. Inform teacher judgments about improving classroom instruction. That is another important thing I mentioned already. We can understand the different criteria from samples when we collect, data we collect. We can also call one teacher and say, it seems there are some gaps in your teaching. These things can be improved on the basis of data that we have analyzed. We have another important thing, a school-wide learning support program so that no student will fall through the cracks. A good school always should do that. No student should fall through the cracks. So for that, school-wide learning support program should be organized. For this, data can be used to validate student-teacher effort to improve. We can also decide which teacher requires the professional development. So we can also think of the program strengths and weaknesses, the program that we offer. That also we can, and we can also promote accountability by having the data properly analyzed. We can also, we can continuously monitor, the progress of the school, of the teachers, of the student, overall program. So there are so many things that we can do with the data.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I think that I was actually thinking on what kinds of data we can collect in schools, and I think that you very beautifully indicated what are the things we can actually pick on this. But a sort of the other side of it kind of came to me. What are the kinds of data that schools should not collect or should not encourage? For instance, we just spoke about one example where it's not a good idea to ask the student directly, how is your teacher? Yeah. So, what are the other such things, other data like this, which it's not a good idea to collect?
Um, well, data privacy is very important, that we all know that one. Certain data, even if we collect, we should not um, publish it. Actually, first of all, I will put it in a different way. Data overload should not happen. So we should be very clear about what we should collect rather than why we should not collect. So that will exclude, because everything means it is an ocean in front of you. Instead of looking at that what should not, you select what you should. See, narrowing down this one is a humongous task for everyone. It's not that an easy thing. But for time being, considering the current scenario, board exam result and the placement of graduating students to renowned universities and colleges. These are all the two indicators of school success and student success at the moment. So what we have to do is collect data pertaining to these areas only. Other areas you collect, for example, norming groups, like for the purpose of analyzing the last year's performance, this year's performance, to predict a future performance. All these things are for internal research purposes. We may collect, we do separately, but in general, we have to collect the data for this purpose, like student purpose data, their school assessment, different internal assessment data, their grades spread over the whole year, topic-wise performance of each student, our school's graduation rate over a period of many years, which we should collect and to see how we can improve on that one. College, school admission data, college, university admission data over a period of many years. Data in external benchmarking test, we have to certainly collect. Board examination results of previous years, their component performances within our school cohort, or a larger cohort, we have to check nationally, internationally, international boards, we have to think. Then subject specific, result. For example, we can see that a particular subject doesn't show that much result that we do in Cambridge and in IB. We have noticed that one. Certain subjects do not give that good result. Schools usually avoid those subjects to be taken by the students in the school. So this type of data analysis we do. So data actually can give a lot of information, but we have to be very careful not to overload the data. And we have to be careful what to take instead of what not to take. Select what to take positively.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Coming then next, to the family partnerships, the school family partnerships. How important is it to have a school family partnership in the children's schooling, learning, and school success?
School family partnership is of extreme importance, no doubt about it. See, over a period of this 3.5 decades, I have heard many teachers say the parent of this particular student doesn't have any interest in his studies. I heard that. So when I talk to the same parents, they say they are more than interested in the studies of the children than, the teachers. So, that's a paradox, unfortunately. There is a communication gap. So the teacher has got an interest in the student success. The parent also has got an interest in the student success. So if they have those common interests, certainly we have to use that one. There are a lot of researchers that concluded that greater parental involvement leads to higher levels of student achievement and improved student behavior also. That is another good thing, improved student behavior also. And they should be in a position to give a family environment for learning and communicate to the student a realistic expectation. Apple tree cannot grow mango, and vice versa. So this realistic expectation should be, and expectation, high level, high expectation should be there, but they should be realistic as well, achievable. So that way, the parent also should. So parental involvement will certainly lead to greater student success. So it is of great importance. No doubt about it. So all schools should try to improve better parental, not more than parental, it should be a family relationship, family and to the community. That's how it has to go. It's of greater importance.
And how can we reach out to the community and families? How can we involve them effectively in the school?
See, as I mentioned already, both have the shared interest. That is student success. That's the key. That should be the key. So we have to create mutual understanding and empathy between the parent, the teacher, that's the school, the teacher body, and create opportunities for meaningful family and community involvement in variety of school activities. Organizing events. Parents can come in and volunteer for organizing events. They can accompany the children for study trips and all. Well, some children may not like their parents to come, but they can go with other children. Not a problem. And some parents may have special, unique abilities. Identify that one, use those abilities in the school, actually. Somebody who is very good in certain skills with this something, we can invite the person and talk to the students. Arrange a talk show where parents can come and participate. Involve the parents different way. And another thing that we can do is, I mentioned about the goals for each student. You remember at the beginning I mentioned. When we are goal setting goals for each student, we can have a 3-way conference, which is very common in international schools, actually, where the parent, the teacher, and the student sit together and set goals for the year. And they sign a formal contract. And they come back about review process of those contracts. See, parent is already involved in that. And parent will value that kind of involvement. So there are so many ways that we can involve. But the school should not consider the parents as opposition and the school as treasury bench. That's the only thing. If we consider them like that, and the parents should not consider them as ruling party and the school as opposition. It should not be like that. They should come and must have mutual understanding and empathy.
Key term, very key term, empathy. Yeah? And building on this, the thought of empathy, about leaders, school leaders. Yeah, they say that school leaders often have a wide area. Their scope is very wide. What is your opinion about the school leader's job?
Okay, making a statement in the vision and the mission that all children will succeed is very inspiring and energizing. But the person to operationalize it is the principal. and that can be very exhausting. So the gap between the ideal and the reality is too big. So there are so many things on the platter of the principal, the school leader, like establishing a learning climate, providing curricular leadership, career counseling, dealing with the personnel matters, managing discipline, community relations, inter-school relation, intra-school relations, school management in general. Yes, it is too big and complex job for one person to handle. That is where I will suggest distributor leadership. I remember a principal wrote somewhere, his name is Gary Burgess. When you keep power, people will not work with you. When you invest power in other people, it always inevitably comes back to you. So therefore, distributed leadership is a reliever for the school leader and a motivator for the teachers because they get leadership shared. Sharing responsibility will develop commitment. It will yield higher student achievement. And it can also exponentially build the staff capacity, teacher efficacy, also retention of the staff. That is another very big problem in schools, especially in private schools. Retention is an issue. So all of these things will be better, and increased accountability also will be there if the leadership is distributed. So distributed leadership is a solution for that. Yes. School leader, singular school leader is a big challenge.
And could you just help us understand the difference between distributed leadership versus just more tires in the leadership structure? I hope I've communicated what I'm asking.
Yes.
Instead of one person having three managers, is that also a distributed leadership of some kind? Or does distributed leadership actually mean something else?
Well, one person is having three leaders and all three managers are doing the same thing, then better fire the two of them. Because they're all doing the same thing. Then why should you waste your fund for three people in that? Distributed leadership is distributing responsibilities with accountability, with a follow-up, with clear targets set. That is a distributed leadership, but with enough autonomy. If I distribute work with everybody and I myself go and do all of them, this is not distributed leadership. So I have to trust people. I have to observe them. I have to see how they are performing. Intervene accordingly. That is a good leader's job. Certainly we have to do that. But it is not the same. A group of people are all doing the same thing. Certainly it's not. I think that is what you asked.
A little different, actually. In fact, I've seen this question come up quite often. When we talk about distributed leadership, what is the difference between a principal having, maybe 3 or 4 vice principals under him, who are again, looking after different aspects of the school, or we have 3 different principals one principal looks after curriculum, one principal looks after administration, so on and so forth. So, often the question is on this regard.
Okay, that's what I also meant. The question of vice principal or principal is, the title is not the case here. Even if you have 3 principals, who will coordinate all these 3 principals? There should be a head above them. There should be somebody. It could be a director, or it could be a senior principal, or it could be an executive principal. A vice principal also same, the principal and vice principal. So the ranking is same here. Yes, There should not be overlapping. That is where the tension will come. If somebody is looking after curriculum management and somebody is looking after administration, the administration manager, if he observes some curricular issues, they have to discuss this in a senior leadership team meeting, not a direct involvement there. Same thing can happen if there are issues in administration, which the principal of the curriculum observes. He should bring to the attention of everybody in the senior management leadership meeting, the SLT, I mean, senior leadership team meeting. So if there are 3 principals or 3 vice principals, there will be a team meeting. So in the team meeting, these things should come rather than overlapping their duties to each other. That's how I understand in school. And in other other organizations, things may be different. But in schools, it has to be like that. Sometimes people may overlap. When overlapping comes, tensions arise. There will be some kind of friction. That will be another headache for the head of the school.
Very true. I think the root of all the aspirins that the principals use lies with overlapping responsibilities in some form.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And
for
so example, I'll give you another example.
Yes, please.
I'm principal of the school and I teach a subject. My accountability should be to who? My reporting should be to who? HOD, head of department of that subject. And I am the principal doesn't mean that I should not report to him. He is the head of the subject. So my accountability of teaching should be reported to him. And it is his duty to report everybody's to the principal. So that kind of clear understanding should be there. And the principal should not think that I am the principal of the school. He shouldn't ask me lesson plan. He shouldn't ask me unit plans. He shouldn't ask me assessment samples. It is not like that. He has got all the rights to ask if the principal is teaching. I can put it that way.
I think that clarifies. Thank you. Thank you so much. It was a real pleasure having you here with us today. As I mentioned earlier, Amrita Cafe aims at serving as a forum to table challenges and explore solutions to cope with the current education scenario. Please do write to us at Amrita Cafe. Contact details will be made available. We would love to hear from you on areas that may be included in forthcoming sessions of Amrita Cafe, where we aim to provide insightful information to usher transparency in and around education. I'm afraid the time permits, the time indicates that the discussion should now come to a conclusion. Before we close, I'd like to thank all of you for your presence and your views, which will be compiled. A couple of views which came in, we couldn't take them on directly, but it will be compiled and it will be made available along with the recorded session. Dr. Venunathan Pillai, thank you for being with us here today at Amrita Cafe to share your insights. I would also like to highlight the efforts of the team behind Amrita Cafe, Parvati and Sakshi, who have made things possible and seamless this evening. Dr. Venu, thank you once again.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here.
Would you allow me to say something?
Of course. Go ahead. Please go ahead.
Certainly, those who are aspiring to be the school leaders, I strongly suggest them to do this course from Harvard University, CSML, that is Certificate in School Management and Leadership. I have used the resources extensively in my conversation with you today. Also, I have read a lot of books related to school management. Some of the writers also I can mention here if they are of use to the audience. Please do. Daniel Goleman, Michael Fullen, Alan Blankstein, Phil Ridden, John Day Noble. These are all some of the writers I can mention, and I used their views also in my presentation today. In my conversation today. It's not a presentation, of course. because these readings and these experiences and this learning will naturally come to us when we are speaking. So I am indebted to them. If I do not, acknowledge that one, I think it is not ethical. That's why I mentioned it.
Thank you so much. Dr. Venu, I request if you could just reread the list of authors so that, the audience, anyone who wants to go deep into it is also most welcome. Could you just reread the list of authors?
Okay. Daniel Goleman, Michael Fullen, Alan M. Blankstein, Phil Ridden, John D. Noble.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for spending your evening with us here today. Real pleasure.
Pleasure.
Good evening. Thank you.